Well, what I would hope is I wouldn't recognize my students walking across the campus because they look just like every other community college student. And but I think every day about what are we doing to change their lives. I'm Keith Samuels, and I'm an advisor to the HPOG program, which is the Health Profession Opportunity Grant that we have at the college. I have probably 44 years in community college education, starting back in 1970. Higher education as a whole tends to have, faculty tend to be content-oriented rather than student-oriented. They, even where they care about their students, they care about them in the context of their courses. We just, we would like to change that mindset somewhat, but it's the experience they have. I'm a biologist and I think biology. When I go in a biology classroom, you sort of think biology. And it's not the norm, I don't think, for folks to think about they think about the students, but they don't think about changing the way we do instruction to be more sympathetic and accommodating to those needs. Well, when I started in the 70s, that was sort of the heyday of the community colleges. And back in the late 60s and the early 70s, we talked about a new community college opening every day. And so it was really the start of the movement. And it was called a lot of things, some good, some not so good. But the thing that stuck with me is it was called the People's College. And the community colleges, which really got a big jump from post-World War II, and then Vietnam, where the veterans benefits, where a lot of veterans had the opportunity to go back to get training, and a lot of those had not been to college and didn't see college as a way to go to school. And so the community college sprang up really as an opportunity for a lot of people to get an education who hadn't had that opportunity before. And it became known as the People's College, or the College of Democracy. And I still feel that the community college is the best hope for so many people in our country. I don't think the mission, the opportunity has changed since then. And so what we find is that there are a lot of people who really don't feel like they're ready for a university, a big university, or don't have the funding to do that. So between the VA benefits, the Pell Grants, and some other things, it's an opportunity a lot of people have. And now we see a real push on skills training. And so one function of the community college is that of providing skill training, associate degree and diploma programs that let people get out and earn a living, in addition to providing affordable first 2 years of a college degree. So I wouldn't be anywhere else but in a community college. Well, HPOG, again, is a Health Profession Opportunity Grant, and it's a demonstration project under Health and Human Services, under the Administration for Children and Families. And it's a part of the Affordable Care Act. It's a demonstration grant to try to demonstrate that there's a good way to help people get out of poverty and into well-paying jobs in healthcare. So I sort of describe it as both a head and heart program. From the head standpoint, it makes sense that we have people who are either on TANF or TANF eligible, low-income folks who don't want to be there. And so how do you help people get out of that situation? And we care particularly about families and single moms. So, if you're trapped in that situation, how do you get out of it? And on the one side, they're taking taxpayer money. So there are those who don't really appreciate that we ought to be doing some of that. And I think this program is a solution. If we can take folks who are now taking welfare money and we can turn around, provide them a job opportunity where they become financially self-sufficient, then they're not going to need that. They'll become taxpayers instead of recipients of the system. So if you're on that side of the fence, then that ought to make sense to you. If you're on the other side of the fence, we've got folks who are trapped in a situation they really don't want to be in. And those are the ones we care about. There's some people we can't help, but there's some we can. And I'm concerned about those moms whose children just don't have enough to eat. They can't go to school with a full stomach in the morning. They worry about them where they live at night. So it's not of their making. And I think a society like ours ought to find solutions to help that. And I think HPOG is one of those. So if we can provide those services that help these people get out of a situation they don't want to be in, then it helps them and it helps us in terms of they become productive community members. It reduces where they are in the sense that those are the things that we think of as a negative piece of the community. Helps them, helps their children. So we can change that family history and turn them into a productive piece of our community, contributing experiences that a lot of us don't have to make it a better place to live. What I'd hoped we could demonstrate is that community colleges in particular, our students bring so much baggage with them to the program, so much life that it's difficult to just see them as you and I went to college and we had financing and we just went to school and we hung out, we joined sororities, fraternities, had a good time. But many of our students don't have that sort of educational opportunity. They're struggling every day just to get through life. And so it's difficult for them to do the things that we think of as just the normal routine to get an education. And my example always is if I have a term paper due on Wednesday and I'm the single mom of an infant and my baby gets sick, I'm going to take care of my baby. I'm not going to finish that term paper. And somehow we've got to have a little more empathy for making education fit the lives of our students. And if we don't have that way of not compromising the objectives of the course, but maybe modifying the way that we help students get through the content, then I think we're failing as the People's College. And I think it's possible. It's not absolute that someone has to be done on a certain time that fits our schedule. And so I think as an institution we need to find ways to be more flexible. And through the HPOG grant we had a singular opportunity as a college to do some of that. My experience and that of others I've talked to is that when you think of what it is that keeps people from completing their work at a community college, it's not intelligence, it's not desire, it's life. And we had with HPOG, we had a little mini conference a couple of years ago about the aspects of poverty. And we had a speaker who talked about the tyranny of the moment. And so many of our HPOG students who are in difficult situations, they're not thinking 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead. They're thinking, how do I get by today? How do I get by this week? And that was pretty stark to me when we started the grant. We hadn't staffed up. So I had the chance to interview the first people we took, the first 50 they call them. And when I did that, silly me, I would bring them in and ask them why they thought they wanted to be in the program. And I would say, well, what are your goals? What do you want to be? career do you like? And a lot of times I just get stares. And it wasn't that they don't want to have a good life, and they think about it, but they're more worried about getting the kids a good place to be, putting food on the table, getting the car repaired, the battery's dying. You know, it's just things you and I don't think about. And we need to help them deal with that. And HPOG offered some services that colleges don't offer. We can do case management. We can offer child care. We can offer transportation assistance by gas vouchers or bus passes. And we can help them with an occasional emergency. You know, in the flood, I lost my glasses. And you don't think of that, but for someone who's just barely getting by, to go buy a pair of glasses is an expense they don't budget for. And so we could help with emergencies like that. The car breaks down. They need a battery in order to get to clinicals so they can stay in school. Well, we could help with that. So my experience is the students could be successful if we can find ways to mesh education and support services with the things going on in their lives. And I think HPOG has done a good job of that. And I'd like to be able to show after the demonstration grant that there's a return on investment to the college as well. What we find is that we have a high attrition rate. And I believe that some of these soft services, if we could find a way to help as a college our students meet these needs, that they would stay in school. And it's much easier to keep students than it is to recruit them. And if we can keep the students in school, they pay tuition, we get state funding, and I think it's a very useful return on investment and a good strategy for retention. And it's helpful to the student. Well, you know, the grant targets TANF, which is cash assistance, and other low-income individuals. Well, I feel like what we're about, and we don't do only single moms, but my own personal interest is that we help those folks, and I think single moms have a unique burden to carry. And if we can help them not only feel better about themselves, but feel better about the future of their children, then I think that's something we should do. So I've just tried to make sure that if there's a way we can help single moms in this, you know, it's just such, you know, we just can't imagine the burden that they have to carry. We have the program they get in, but then we also try to have what I just call a parallel curriculum, and that would be workshops and so forth. Starting out, it might be parenting skills, it might be time management, financial planning at the very beginning. Then you start getting to the college, and so now we want to talk about note-taking, test-taking skills. And then as you move through, get closer to the end, we want to talk about job-getting skills, resume writing, dress for success, those sort of things. So, well, there's just such a need, and I think it can make such a difference in the community from almost any aspect you could think about. But particularly, it can change family history, and I think that's something that we all ought to be trying to do. Well, it would depend. You know, we try to take 200 students a year, and within that, just the soft services, child care, transportation, and emergencies, comes close to $1 million a year. And then case management, we have contract with Catholic Charities. And again, it's like 6 or 7 people. So it's another several $100,000 a year.
Okay.
And my vision would be that you would integrate it into the structure of the college and the community. The goal ought to be that we build a plan that the community agencies and people who come in contact with the clients we would serve do the recruiting. And then we sort of serve as a small end of the funnel to get them into programs and so forth and so on. And then we would join together in how we would try to serve those students. And it's going to have to be a community-wide effort.
Okay.
Because nobody is going to have the kind of money on and on and on. And again, this is 200 people. Just imagine what the need is in a community our size. So, it's the same stuff. It's been going on for a long time. And in some ways, hadn't changed a bit. The needs are still there. And the way we either address them or don't address them, many of those ways are still there too.